Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Harry Brelsford, the founder of SMB Nation, and also the founder of xpmigrations.com, which is a subsidiary of SMB Nation. Thank you for joining us for the Certified Migration Expert Exam CRAM session. We heard from a lot of you that you were interested in this type of webinar to better prepare for our assessment at xpmigrations.com. Not only are we happy to do it today, but we're actually going to launch an ongoing series of training webinars that are both related to the assessment and also just general technical and business knowledge. So thank you for your feedback. With that said, let's do some introductions just to kind of level set. So xpmigrations.com, we are a co-op that match customers with partners for Windows XP migration work. I got news for you. We all know about the April 8th deadline coming up with the end of extended support on the April 8, 2014. But in reality, I live in Seattle. I'm a friend of the family at Microsoft. I'm on the inside, if you will. And, you know, we've got this thing pegged at 36 months. I mean, there's definitely a long tail to this type of work, and we're dealing with humans, and humans don't always move the fastest. For those of you that don't know SMB Nation, here's our hero slide that gives you a little bit better idea of who we are. So 14-year-old community. We have built up 40,000 SMB IT pros. Our roots go back to the small business server era, but we've gone way beyond that, just like the industry has, as we have additional richer conversations. We put on events. We thank the industry for the recognitions we've received. And below you see some of the success stories, the Gateway Tour, Gateway Computer Tour that I did at the, well, right around Y2K, and then the Million Mile SMB campaign mid-decade, primarily promoting small business server in the small business specialist community. As for myself, my name is Harry Brelsford, career SMB IT pro, love to write books, love to be a geek, and I take education seriously, as well as I'm a frequent speaker at events, and I enjoy certification tests. So that's actually kind of why we're here, is to talk about certifications. But I also want to take a moment to introduce employee number one with SMB, with XP Migrations, excuse me, Brook Ilges. Brooke, are you there? How you doing?
I am. Hi. How's everybody doing today?
Well, I'm sure they're doing fine. It's kind of a one-way conversation, but that's all right. So, Brooke, you've been in touch with pretty much everybody in our co-op, and you've had outreach. So first of all, take a few moments to introduce yourself. I know that you have been in this community in the MSP realm, and then let's talk about the feedback you're getting. So go for it. Who is Brooke?
My name is Brooke Ilges, and I was married to Jeremiah Ilges, who owned the Ohio Technology Corporation. I'm sure that an awful lot of you in the IT community have either heard of him or know about him. I was his executive secretary from 2010 until 2012, and I got to know a lot of people in the IT community. I love this work. Everybody is so positive, so motivated. A lot of the feedback that I've had from you, just the small conversations we've been able to have, everybody is so excited about this. There's a lot of job opportunities. I am very pleased to be involved, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future.
Absolutely, and we're just getting this party started, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So you've been on countless phone calls and chatted many of the people on the webinar today. What's the vibe? How's everybody doing? What are you hearing, Brooke?
Everybody's very interested. I've had a lot of questions about the assessment. I think the main key point is everyone wants study materials, which is why I encouraged everyone to come to this webinar. It's going to give them a lot of material they're going to be able to use to help them achieve that assessment.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, I want to take a second to talk about why we have an assessment while I have the screen up with the obvious facts about April 8th. But Brooke, I had the pleasure of working in a similar capacity back in the mid-90s, 1-800 network in the Seattle area, and it was cool. And owned by a Boston company called MacTemps. And so what I found, what I found is that we need screening, we need an assessment tool to both protect us, protect the customer, and protect what I call the teammates or the talent, the people listening today, that we want to make sure that we have everybody right-sized and on the right seat of the bus, and know what they're doing. And so, folks, when Brooke reaches out to you with respect to this assessment and some of the other things we do, that's where we're coming from. Is we really want to ensure the quality of the quite frankly, the business model that we have. So, Brooke, I may call on you in a little while. Thank you for joining us again. Let's keep moving along, folks. Time is short. We have a detour ahead. So, today we're telling the Windows 8.1 story, okay? And you're going to see that on the assessment. There's really not a big need to talk about Windows 8.0 today. So I want to give you that first nugget, that we're really talking about the Windows 8 situation. Yes, you can go to Windows 7 with downgrade rights. With the dozen customers we've already acquired, that's a huge part of the conversation already is, can I go to Windows 7? Yes, you can. Now, statistically, 70% of the upgrades will be, excuse me, there we go, touched a button there. 70% of the upgrades will be a new laptop and desktop purchase, 30% an in-place. That's kind of by the book. I personally believe it'll be higher, about 80 or 90, but the key thing is when you take a certification exam or an assessment, you know the old saying from the MCSE days is you answer the question the Microsoft way. So I want you to be thinking about that. How should this question be answered? Next slide, please. Security is probably the #1 conversation about why upgrade. And I could go on and on and on about that. And people who are not as global in their thinking about what this situation is with the XP migrations will, kind of think, well, it's running fine and I don't need to do anything, and can I just go to Best Buy and do it on my own? It's a much bigger story than that. I'd encourage you to, for your own knowledge and as part of the assessment, find some of these articles. The Google search engine's great, and I'm going to talk about that to get yourself code complete on what the conversation is. The functionality is another conversation. So you can't use Office 2013 with XP. That means you're not going to have that really cool search bar in the calendar, which I have fallen in love with. The Intel Haswell chipset is not supporting XP. Windows Secrets wrote about the OS is in fact broken. This is an article from Tony Bradley, one of the speakers at our fall conference I'll talk about. And I'd encourage you to pop over to Windows Secrets and see what Tony's talking about. Productivity examples. So we've talked about security, we've talked about functionality, now we can talk about productivity. So indeed, there's higher support cost for Windows XP. Both TechIsle and research partners discovered this, and then Intel itself. And who better than Intel down at the hardware level to know? And then lower productivity, okay? And I get that. I get both. So where to go? Well, we had XP released a long time ago, October of 2001, just a point in time clearly after Y2K, and about a month after 9/11 came the XP operating system, and it was, maybe in some ways it was too good, but that whole paradigm, that whole time has passed. A lot of years have gone by. So once again, you do have downgrade rights to Windows 7, and personally, I like Windows 8.1. I'm already running it in beta and what they call the preview copy, and I need to very quickly go ahead and install the final copy. Love the start button. If it wasn't my issue, but I love it. If it's your issue, it's back. It's on the lower right. Where to go? I'm sorry. How do we work with people? This is actually part of your understanding on the assessment that we're going to, the certification approach that we have is as well as a true assessment. And I'm going to talk to you about that. The key point is the assessment. So a customer, #1, hires XP migrations. We assign one of you, a teammate, to go on the assignment in your local community. That's #2, the arrival. Well, at that arrival, you're going to run an assessment tool, as you should. I mean, think back to your early MIS and information technology courses you've taken. This is sort of the traditional flow of IT. Wynn from RapidFire Tools will end the webinar in a little while with a demo of the assessment tool we have available for you. And the rest is kind of the workflow of performing a consulting assignment. So you run the assessment, essentially confirm or create the statement of work. Number 3, get approval. Number 4, procurement. You buy the, let's just say, Lenovo laptops. And number 5, you do the work. 6 is acceptance. 7, very important, customer satisfaction surveys and closing documents. How did you do? Another conversation, again, these are all tips and tricks for the assessment. So another conversation I want you to be thinking about is application compatibility. This is another pillar conversation about upgrading and maybe a barrier to upgrade. Well, here's the deal. In my research over the summer, assisting Microsoft OEM and the XP migration matter, what we found is this conversation kicks in at 1,000 desktops or higher in general. It really is not a small business conversation. Small businesses are traditionally using standard applications like Microsoft Office, Adobe Creative Suite, Intuit, QuickBooks, and so on. So it's always a legitimate conversation, but it's actually not valid down in the small business area. Now, above 1,000 desktops, absolutely valid, because here's what happened in general, is that these shops, manufacturer shop, they have custom apps, and the custom apps were not upgraded for Vista in late 2006, so they bypass Vista, and they're still on XP. They didn't like Vista, and I get that. The UAEs that pop up were annoying, so you bypass Vista because of its annoying security model. All of a sudden, you got a mini Y2K up in the, let's call it upper mid and lower enterprise space, and even the enterprise space. So how are you going to do it? Well, you could do a Windows 7 downgrade and run in XP mode. Not perfect. That's one consideration. You could certainly update your applications. I should have made that point. That's a little Y2K thinking. You can keep one machine running XP. We actually do that at SMB Nation to drive a legacy plotter. And you can consider some of the virtualization options out in our industry. Couple of knowledge nuggets for you. So, Google Windows XP migrations to review recent news articles. I want to point you specifically, if you want to key in on Mary Jo Foley over at Microsoft Watch and see what her coverage was from the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference in July of 2013, known as WPC. That's a little knowledge nugget for you, by the way. Get real familiar with the Wikipedia page on Windows XP. Please, please, please install Windows 8.1. If you're part of TechNet, I don't know if it's on Action Pack yet. I know that you can get the gold code for Windows 8.1 now. Otherwise, please use the Windows 8.1 preview. Revisit things like the Windows XP hardware requirements. Some of you on the call are going to remember the old MCSE days, and there were questions. You have to have basic product knowledge about where you've been, where you're at, and where you're going. Part and partial to that is understand and research licensing issues, so get to know SLA and BL. Discover what migration tools might exist in the industry to migrate data and applications, hint, hint, wink, wink, and be able to perform simple math. You'll do fine on the last point. Now, those are some tips and tricks to get you going, and we're here as a resource for that. We will make this webinar available to attendees. We will not publicize this webinar widely because we do want this webinar to be, in a sense, a reward for those of you that are committed and dedicated to attending today. I do want you to have an understanding of, we recently announced, based on popular demand, quite frankly, the Master Certified Migration Expert title. So these are some additional steps that it's an earned title that allow you to prove that you are basically, you can think of it, remember the higher level Novell and Cisco and even Microsoft certifications versus the lower level MCP. If you wanted to think of it that way, that's the delineation. So here's what you do. Today we're talking about the Certified Migration Expert Online Assessment that's part of our online platform. And Brooke is here to help you. It's Brooke at smbnation.com. I'll repeat that later, BROOK at smbnation.com. Attend 2 hours of in-person classroom lecture on migration topics at our fall conference coming up. That's coming up in just under a month. That's October 10th. I'll talk about that. Later in the year, early next year, we will have some regional events, but quite frankly, that's not the same as our 3-day conference where we have an entire migration pathway. You're going to pass an intensive 60-minute certification exam. That'll be out in mid-October. And then you're going to submit 2 referrals and recommendations that are validated. So this is serious. Moving right along, we are now talking about the SMB Nation Fall Conference. I made mention of it. All the details are at fall.smbnation.com. Brooke can work with you on special pricing for people that are part of xpmigrations.com to attend. We understand there's a cost to it, but please study the content and understand the migration pathway. There's 3 pathways. This is one of them. And then night school for the inner geek and all of us. Who needs gambling? Who needs partying when you can have PowerShell? So fall.smbnation.com. Finally, my final slide before I hand it over to Win. I'm pretty excited about this, by the way. Why customers hire XP Migrations. So I think you need to understand where we're coming from. What's good for me is good for you. Let's make sure that it's a good fit to work together. So far, Brooke, are you still there? I mean, it sounds like you're finding a lot of good fits and excitement out there. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is, most definitely. I've had a lot of great positive feedback.
Great. And Brooke, by the way, will be getting you your badges. Those of you that have already passed, you'll be getting your badge. Brooke, I think you're jumping on that this week.
Yes, I am. I'm going to try and get it done. I'm going to do at least half of them today and the rest tomorrow. So those of you that have passed, do not worry. You will have it before this weekend.
That's right. You'll actually, at a later date, be getting a certificate. Bear with us, certificate that you see there. We will send you the high-res copy suitable for framing if you have a customer with a die sub printer. This is a beautiful certificate. Give us a little bit more time on that, but we do want to get the badges out to you right away so you can demonstrate your expertise. So, why hire XP Migration? Number one, expert talent. Each of you have 10, on average, 10 plus years experience in the industry. We like that. You've completed your assessment. Number 3, we do conduct a background check before we send you out on assignment for a lot of obvious reasons. Number 4, the toolkit. So we're going to talk about the assessment tool next. Number 5, training. We do provide training and we'll continue to do so. And Brooke, sometimes the training might be you. I mean, it may be talking about in your role. Well, you wear about 5 hats, but in your 4th hat as a recruiter, we can talk about that. That's training to talk about how to go to a work site, how to behave. Is that fair?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So it's not always going to be down at the registry level, folks. It's going to be a variety of training, plus our on-site conference, etc. Co-op dividend. Quickly, co-op dividend coming very soon. When you make money with xpmigrations.com, you're in points, you're in X points. So let's say that over the course of the year you make $36,000 with us, accepting assignments and doing your job well, you'll have 36,000 X points. And we have a store, we actually have the placeholder up at xpmigration.com over on the right, and you can gain equipment. So Jabra has already signed up, so we have Jabra headsets that you can redeem that for, as well as their sound bar. You can get a free pass to the SMB Nation conferences, so that's another way to spend your points. Something I want you to know, this really goes back to why are we doing what we do, other than there's a fantastic opportunity that's good for me, good for you, and good for everybody. We stand behind you. We have a 100% guarantee with the customer where because we've screened you, because we've gotten to know you, because Brooke will be doing a Skype face-to-face interview as part of our process as well, we endorse you. We stand behind you, and we do so by guaranteeing your work with the customer. And if for some reason that doesn't work out as well, we take care of the customer. I'm going to leave you with one final thought about, again, why we're here before I hand off to Win. Heather, in a moment, if you could, the next slide, start to queue up the handoff to Win. And Win, hang on out there. I know you're excited. But you know, in my time at Microsoft, and how far back do you want to go? The 25 years ago when I moved here and worked on the Excel 3.0 team, yada, yada, yada. But in my recent reincarnation with the OEM team over the summer, we really had to make sure that people understood you need an expert to help with the Windows XP migration. So I submit for your approval that do-it-yourself is not practical. It's certainly not efficient. And we have had to educate customers and other stakeholders that you can't just go down to Fry's or Best Buy, buy the computer and do it yourself. Let me give you an example out on the far reaches, is that a really good friend of mine is working for a Microsoft-funded consulting practice called Avanade, similar to Accenture, and he is assigned to a 10,000-unit migration in Detroit. He flies from Seattle on Sunday. He flies home on Thursday. He will be doing this for the foreseeable future every week. He's one of those guys. Can he just, number one, do it yourself? Absolutely not. I mean, that's why he's there. Number two, can you run down to Best Buy and just buy 10,000 laptops? Absolutely not. So I want you to think globally about this situation. And with that, thank you for attending and picking up on our knowledge nuggets. This should arm you for the CME assessment. Brooke is always just a phone call and an email away to answer questions and assist. And folks, we do let you take it twice, and there's a reason for that. We want to make sure that you have understood. You take it once. Quite frankly, back in the MCSE days, I was known to learn the exam. I get that, especially with my SQL Server time. I get that. But by the second time, we want to make sure that, you know, this is good for you and good for us, and you're pursuing the right career path. Brooke can go into more of those details. Thank you again. Now the fun stuff. So the assessment tool that you'll use on assignments, and we're going to make that available to you for attending today's webinar. This will be available shortly through our process, because we also want you to have it for your real-world endeavors. We understand that you probably have your very own client list. You're serving them well. We can help supplement that. I totally get that. But here's a tool that can be of great benefit for you in your daily walk of life, and it's been a pleasure to work hand in hand with RapidFire Tools on the development of this. So when you're on, Heather, can you transfer the presentation over to Win? And folks, be sure to use the chat feature to ask your questions. After Win presents, I will be delighted to answer the questions as I'm able to use the chat feature. Thank you, Heather. Hello, Win.
Hello. I hope you can see my screen, or shortly.
Shortly we should be able to. Win, while your screen's coming up, I think once it transfers over to you, if you click the blue button, or one of the buttons will reveal itself over on the control panel for you to become a presenter and show your screen.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, Win, please introduce yourself and tell us who you work for, where you're located. What's your story, sir?
Well, my name is Pham. I am in charge of development at RapidFireTools.com. see. Now it should be on air. This is our website, RapidFireTools.com. And we're makers of several tools, but one of them that's very important in terms of the XP migration side that we've been partnering with Harry on is the Network Detective tool. One thing that we've done is we've been able to work with Harry and take our usual Network Detective scanning agent and modify it and produce a special report for XP migration. And that's what I'll be showing you today.
Yeah, and hey, Win, can you just double check your screen setting? And Heather, if you're still, I know you're back in the control room, maybe if you can double check we're all good. And Win, I know it's one of those left buttons. They'll say, you'll have something in the thing that says you're the presenter and you pick monitor 1 or monitor 2. There you go, sir. Hello.
Great. So,
Now we're in
please
business.
continue, sir.
Oh, no problem. What we created is, in partnering with SMB Nation, to produce this site here for XP migrations as well. And this will be linked in by all of it in Harry's site. And this allows you to go there to the site, download an assessment tool, we use to scan computers, and then generate an assessment report. So when you get to this site through a link, you'll press on download the tool, and then you'll download the zip file of the tool. That zip file includes a README and an executable for the data collector. You can take the data collector here and put it onto a USB drive that you would bring to the different customer sites. We recommend reading the README first because the README is actually the user manual instructions for this. So you can see here, just run through the README. It'll walk you through the various steps and give you a little more information about how to run the product. But just for you, I'm going to actually run this collector and show you how to get started with it and tell you a little bit about the nuances of it. It is from our full Network Detective data collecting product, which is used to scan networks and produce assessment reports. If I run it, it's actually inside of a zip file. It's compressed. It's installed as a, it's run as a self-extracting zip because we don't want to leave anything on the customer site. So there's no MSI, there's no add remove programs installed. It's just run as an application. It's run as it's compacted as a self-extracting zip, so you press run. First thing it does is it brings up the WinZip self-extractor. You want to use the unzip option instead of the run WinZip because we have it actually launching the application immediately after. You press unzip. It says 41 files successfully launched. It actually launches the application now. You'll see that I'm running it currently without admin rights. On the environment that you're running on, we recommend, if it's an environment with Active Directory, run it on the domain controller with as high of rights as you can possibly give it. If it has domain admin, it will be able to scan the entire network all from that one machine. If you're on a non-Active Directory domain machine network, you'll want to run it from the actual XP box that you're doing the scan from, and then you can provide credentials. And assuming that the credentials are the same on all the other XP boxes, you'll be able to pull information remotely. The one model that's not supported in this particular package is the one where you have a disconnected LAN and work group, and you want to scan multiple machines and merge them together. And that's available in our full Network Detector product. Are you sure you want to continue to scan? Say yes. If you use your current logins, you can specify a login, or you can say this does not have a domain controller. If you say this doesn't have a domain controller, you simply press next, and then it'll show you external domains where you can actually say this site is myco.com. Excuse me, I should just write myco. And then what it'll do is actually provide extra information there. You can decide what IP ranges it's going to be scanning from. In this case, I'm just going to remove this range and just do a simple CNET. SMP, gather extra information as well. There is a component that if MBSA is installed, it'll actually produce extra information for client risk and other types of reports that we have. But in this particular case, from the XP migration report, it's not necessary, so you can skip over it. You verify it, it runs, and it will produce a zip file onto your desktop or wherever you specify. And once you start running it, it produces a scan. Once you have a scan file, which is formed as this zip file, you go back to our site and click upload the results. And here you would register it so that your results would be emailed to you. Our engine will process and generate the report in the background and email you the results. The resulting report that you get is, let's see if I can find it over here. README here. Let me see. Go down here. Is you get an XP Readiness Assessment report. What this does is it compares all the scan data against what the minimum system requirements are. And you can go over to the Microsoft site, and here's the Windows 8.1 preview site. It'll tell you what kind of processors, the RAM, and amount of free space that's necessary. There also are additional requirements as well for the types of processors and the types of environments that you're running in. So this is a good guideline for it. There's actually more extensive requirements as well. I think you need an NX processor type with PAE support as well. So for instance, being able to support depth. Now I'm going to go over here and show you what this report actually looks like. See if I can once again find the report. This is the XP Readiness report. You would actually fill in there what company you're preparing for. It'll be prepared for your company by your company. It tells you information about the report itself. And this can actually be handed to a customer site. So you can see here, it found 3 XP upgrade candidates. It found a total of 7 XP computers and that are very good or excellent candidates. And the way we do it is we give you a rating score between poor and excellent for how good a candidate is for upgrading. So you can see this is a small example of right here. You have a couple computers that are excellent candidates, some that are very good candidates, and one that we just don't have enough information to make the assessment for. So if we go down the list, you can see here it's comparing, it'll show you the processor, the RAM, the drive space that's free, the type of video driver that's necessary, and it'll give you an assessment as how good and compatible that is. Both of these computers meet that compatibility list. When we get down to this computer, you'll see that the only problem that's making this less of a good candidate is inadequate disk space. And so therefore, it's a very good candidate as opposed to a great candidate because you might be able to free up a little bit of disk space and then have that as a candidate for upgrade. Otherwise, they're going to end up being a set of computers that are just unable to detect data from. You might want to go and run the assessment on those computers individually, or they might be computers that are offline at the time because we're pulling some of the information from Active Directory to be able to see other XP machines that are in the network. The other kind of compatibility parts, here's another machine as well, sorry to move on, is you end up with the application compatibility. And as Harry said, this really applies to really large environments. What this is not a list to red flag every single application, but it's basically to show you what are you going to have to be migrating and dealing with if you perform a migration upgrade. If you're doing a reinstall, for instance, and buying new laptops, which a majority of people will do, these are the type of applications that your end users are using and the impact. Our full network detector product actually has detail on each one of these computers, and we'll actually show you what's installed on each one for your documentation and install purposes. But you can see here, you're able to go through there and see what the majority of applications there are. And as you see, it is very, very simple to what Harry was saying. It's mostly just kind of like applications like QuickBooks, for instance, and you have some people with music players and things of that nature, but other applications like Office and Word and things just to be aware of that are running. Now, along with the application compatibility, there's another part, which is driver compatibility. And the driver compatibility basically lists some drivers. As time goes on, people will start developing databases and gotcha information repositories on the internet saying that, hey, if you have this type of video card back from 2007, there's a known compatibility with upgrading to Windows 8.1, and this is just definitely a red flag that that computer, although it might meet all the requirements, might not be able to upgrade because that video card doesn't have a driver that runs on the latest operating system. And so we list all the drivers for you so that you can go look through that list for any kind of gotchas and just be aware of what kind of things are being run on that network, like, for instance, this HP printer, for instance. So with that report in hand, you'll be able to go through the site and make an argument and pitch of whether or not this is a buy a new laptop model. I could upgrade some of these computers, or maybe there's just too many computers in order to be able to do one model or another, and you as a certified migration expert will be able to tell the customer what the right path and solution for them is. During our beta testing of this, we had a partner actually run this on a municipality, a city in California. The scan ran over 423 computers. It found 123 of the machines out of the 400 were XP machines. And about half of them were very easily upgradable, but a lot of them didn't have the right components, the amount of storage, the RAM, or the processor compatibility. And so at that point, it's just a decision as to which way to go with the upgrade. And for those machines, I think your straight purchase replacement might be the only option. So that being said, this will be linked in from Harry's site, as well as you can always go to it by reaching us at www.xpmigration.com. And other than that, this tool is free to use as a partner of Harry's in the XP Migration platform.
Yep.
So I'll hand it back to Harry now.
Okay. Well, go ahead and keep your you keep the screen. My slides are done, so keep the screen. In fact, maybe go back to your web page because I know that you have other products and you have more robust products, and we appreciate you being a development partner with us. And you know, with the tip of the hat and the hat and a wink and a nod, folks, get to know RapidFire Tools. They'll be at the fall conference. In fact, they're participating on the migration pathway in a full-on lecture about assessments with Melanie Goss, who's the Microsoft princess. She has a great radio show with about 250,000 listeners out of Manhattan. So it's just we're community. We're a co-op. This is an awful lot of fun. With that said, when you know, I'll definitely be working with you in the near term as we're going to be releasing the Master Certified Migration Expert exam at the fall conference. And folks, hang on fast because we're going to drill down in some of this this functionality. That's what a master's level cert would be. Is that you know, you're not just a big hat with no cattle. You really know what you're doing. Now, I've got a bunch of questions. And folks, this is maybe the first call for questions. I've got 6 lined up. So we have Sean McCormick. I'd like to hear from Brooke today. So Brooke, if you could make a note to reach out to Sean McCormick.
Most definitely.
Rob, thank you. Rob asked, what if you cannot attend SMB Nation? I get that. We're, you know, completely understand. We will have regional partner events in the last half of the year. If you want to go to xpmigrations.com and look under events, Brooke is, oh boy, Brooke, we've been working it's pretty early this morning to we've locked down New York, we've locked down Orlando, we've locked down LA. So folks, stand by for the dates for those. Now what I would offer is that will meet your 2-hour classroom requirement. The partner events are typically at night, and they're typically at a Microsoft store in the training room, and myself and others will be the presenter, and we will clock some time, and we think that's what makes the master level cert so meaningful. Like a lawyer has to have CPE credits, an accountant has to have CPE credits, a doctor does, and thank goodness my doctor does. I mean, I really support, I think my doctor should go to school each year. So there will be regional opportunities, but I do want to delineate that that's, quite frankly, that's a different experience from attending the full 3-day SMB Nation Conference. So thank you, Rob, for your question. Where do you take the assessment? Michael Larkin is asking. Brooke, if you could get the information out to everybody on where to take the assessment, I'll tell you verbally, and Brooke will follow up with you guys and follow up with Michael, is that you go to Work Market and you log on, and as part of joining the SMB Nation XP Migrations group, you'll be provided with the logon link and information to take the assessment. If you're already in the group and you haven't taken the assessment, it's a menu option from, I think it's the 3rd drop down. You'll see assessments under, I'd have to look at it, but basically drop down menu, 3rd one over, and complete the assessment. We have Michael Larkin asking, is there a study guide for SMB? Is there much on zero touch and task sequencing? So Michael, great question. That's what we're going to cover at the master's level. Okay, we're going to get down to more of exactly that. And to be very honest, I'm going to weave in some of the experiences and some of the language from my good friend over at Avanade, who's on the 10,000 unit migration out in Detroit. So you see where I'm going. Harry, can we use our own company pricing structure for XP migration projects we get assigned to? Who does the billing go through? That's from Russ. So great question, Russ. So we're a labor market, and if you've worked as a contractor, we do everything. You do the work, and we pay you, and you will be a contractor because that's the right fit for our audience, since people already own their companies and are active IT pros. We do not W-2 you as an employee. So here's how it works. Through a number of methods, we acquire the customer. We, quite frankly, do something a lot of SMB IT pros don't like to do. We do the sales and marketing, and we acquire the customer that needs an XP migration. Then we manage the assignment. So that means the billing and the collections, and quite frankly, something a lot of SMB pros don't like to do. We leave what we call the grinder function, or the work, to you, and we assign you the assignment. Typically, the pay is based on the customer's needs. So it's a traditional contractor relationship with the client through our co-op. And so it will vary by job. And what we'll end up doing is typically posting up opportunities, and you'll have a chance to decide if that opportunity is right for you. So let's pretend you're in the Boston area. We engage with a customer in Boston. Or you know what, a better one is the credit bureau, Brooke, down in San Francisco, the 45-person credit bureau that we're in very deep negotiations with right now. And there is some customization on that one, let me tell you, as well as security issues. We are in negotiations with a 45-person credit bureau in the Bay Area. Once we have an understanding of what the work is, and we're ready to assign it to one of our teammates, we will be able to post that ticket. And we do have several people from the Bay Area ready to go. And so then it's incumbent upon them to hear what we're saying. We'll send out an email, and we'd encourage you to periodically log on and check in. And if that assignment works for you, good for you. Good for you, and accept the assignment. And just one or two additional steps, and we'll dispatch you out to do the work. Brooke, does that make sense? Or I'm all wackadoo. Does that?
No, it does.
Am I missing anything?
When we post a job on WorkMarket, those of you that have worked with WorkMarket in the past, or even if you're new to it, it is a very easy website to navigate. I'll be posting them as soon as I'm able to get them. I'm not sure what the time frame is, but they will be available, viewable to all of you as our resources. And then if it feels like a good fit to you, then you assign yourself to it. It's very simple, and it is very self-explanatory. WorkMarket is an amazing tool, and it's going to make this very easy for everyone.
Absolutely. And by the way, that question, I have a correction from the radio control room. That was Gabe who asked that question. So thank you, Gabe. XPmigrations.com is down right now. Okay, well, thank you. I'm not sure what that's about. So thank you for that little knowledge nugget. But maybe, Brooke, maybe that's the sign that we need to bring this all to an end.
Perhaps that is.
And the locusts are invading and so on. So Russ, thank you for that knowledge nugget. We'll jump on that one right away. My personal assurance on that. Hey, Brooke, I don't know if I told you earlier today, my Comcast service was down in our neighborhood. My phone, my internet, and I have business class to my home office, and I'm like,
Has it been storming there? Or a tree? Yeah.
Yeah. It hasn't been storming, but it is that time of year where trees get dry and old and fall, and so for whatever reason it came back on a little bit later. Folks, that does clear the queue for the questions. We've gone a few minutes over time. Really appreciate you dropping by. Wynn, especially so. Wynn, let's do a 1-hour dedicated email soon. Webinar.
That's some email for over an hour.
Yeah, I told you, Brooke, I'm going wackadoo today. But when, seriously, there's enough there that let's make this one of our training sessions coming up so people can go deep on the assessment tools. That sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Well, folks, have a great day. Let me go reboot the server over at xpmigrations.com. Let's get that back. Give me about a half hour, and we'll get that back up and running. And away we go. And we will be getting you the link for this assessment tool as your reward for attending today. Great to have you stop by. Good luck on your assessment. Have a great day. Goodbye.